This conference will now be recorded.
For the second reading of pre-treat ordinance 152, an amendment to Title 10 setting uniform requirements for industrial users of the public-owned treatment works. Public comment.
Do you have a copy of the actual ordinance? The only thing online is the same sheets that were handed out last month, the fact sheet.
I do, with my one correction.
Okay.
And Edmund instead of an Edmund.
Do that one you give away or is this yours? Oh,
I'm sure I have it in the file.
forever.
So we're looking for public comment on only these.
Only on ordinance 152 currently. Gary Lloyd, Mike. So we went through first reading and several, like a public information. You went on the tour, didn't you? No. And provided tours of the waste system. And that's about where we were at. And then went through first reading last month with no public comment. And then now we're to second reading.
Yeah, I apologize. You read the ordinance now? Yeah.
Yes, sir. It's not going to be read.
Damn. Is that your speed reader, dude?
No. Was the night that lady made the presentation, was that the first reading or was that just the first one?
That of the presentation, that was just public information.
So that was me.
The last regular business meeting at Town Hall for November was. Yes.
I have a question, Nikki.
Yes,
I never saw the agenda posted for the November meeting. I couldn't find it online, so I was wondering if it was posted anywhere else, or maybe that's why nobody showed up for the first hearing.
It was noticed in the paper. It was posted here at Town Hall and at the library. And my phone notified me that there was a blog article so that it was posted on the town website last week as well.
Oh, gotcha. I couldn't find it on the website, I thought, so I just wondered if it got not put on there.
So outside of public comment at this meeting, what was next steps?
So at a second reading, if the council chooses to adopt it, then it would become ordinance in 30 days.
Shame on me.
Lisa.
My name is Lisa Roberts, and I guess my only comment is I haven't dived into the thing, but is with any ordinance passed is that the enforcement go along with it and that it be even across the board. Is everyone plays by the same rules and enforcement is done. So that's my only comment.
Does the ordinance address enforcement?
It does. We did not put certain time caps on it, knowing that depending on the user, there's going to be different financial constraints. So kind of the discussion was, we form a plan, see what the plan's going to take, and then go from there for each one. Because some people it might be a quick grease trap in a sink, others it could be more involved.
Right, we're referring to industrial discharge, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, what is your name?
My name is Jerry Roby, really specific. Sure. Yes, sir.
Any other public comment?
So Tony tried to lure me in. So I know early on there was conversation about the towns already working with all the industrial where we think there's going to be issue? Is all that identified? I mean, do we know where the big polluters are?
Yes.
And we've already conversations with them all.
Eric's had some conversations with most of them. Pretty much any of us that are industrial, so business related, that don't have a system have to address that. And it's different for each type. And that's the hard part. So we couldn't say, oh, you have to have it done in a year because yours is going to be completely different than somebody else's. You know what I mean? Like you are going to have something different than a kitchen, regular kitchen, and I'm going to have something different at the parts store. And so this was the start of those conversations so that we can move towards this, especially in the future with our permits that are coming down. That's going to become more strict, not less strict, where we discharge into the Madison. So if we don't meet these requirements, that puts us in, as a town, in a real bind.
So the only thing I would request is having a long history of breweries, distilleries, food and beverage restaurants. Is there any way we can postpone this till the next meeting so we could, as a group of Willie's Distillery, review this in more detail?
It's on the agenda. That will be up to the commission to table or continue.
Well, that would be my request to the commission to table.
We've tabled it once before already.
Yeah, I guess I'm online and I'm confused a little. Is that somebody speaking from Willie's Distillery?
Yes.
Because I personally delivered the letter and the information to them, to Willie, about the pre-treat. So, and that was months and months and months ago at the first meeting we ever had.
Well, I can't speak on behalf of he's not here.
Okay.
I just got a request that if public is speaking, that they go to the microphone because they can't hear them.
Oh, okay. I always forget online can't hear. Sorry. Any other public comment? Anything else from online? All right, last call for public comment. Public comment.
To your question, we had the engineer come here. What's her name, from Great West? Came here and spoke on a handful of, did a presentation regarding this, I guess. So I would, I think if you have some specific questions, can he email them and we can have her answer those?
Is that recorded? Is it on?
The presentation? Actually, I don't know.
Ginger, did we record Great West's presentation? So it's on the YouTube as well.
I'd have to check to be 100% on that, but I think it's.
On the town's YouTube channel. It's fancy like. The town has a YouTube of all the meetings. You can watch them when you're super bored and can't sleep at night. And the work session, which the engineer came down and presented, it's on there.
I'm more than willing to do it. I would love to do it, but I don't really have the time to do that if it's not tabled.
All right, other commission?
I also went down to Willie's Distillery and hand invited people from Willie's Distillery, and I do believe Jason went to the one where, so that you guys can see, with Eric. And I went to all of the main businesses that would be most impacted because I did it on Monday and then they did it again on Thursday. And after, because me and Nikki Hankins went, and I found out who the main ones that were going to be impacted, and I specifically went there and asked each one of the business owners to please send somebody, and only Willie sent one person.
Right, Josh
Yes.
from Willie's was here for,
Thank you.
I believe, the engineer presentation.
And unfortunately, he's no longer with us.
Yeah, I was there for the engineer presentation too, but I did not hear about the meeting in between that and this one. So that's why I haven't seen the ordinance. Didn't know about it. I looked online when I found out about tonight's meeting, and it's not attached to the thing that this sheet is still. Pre-treatment fact sheet that was handed out when the engineer spoke. At least I didn't find it online. That doesn't mean it's not there. Most patient person are digging around on the website.
I feel our last discussion when we had Camper Corner involved with this. Aaron Moore, we tabled it at that point, but it's quite literally a document that is almost cut and pasted from other towns, and it's very, I'd argue it's not super reader friendly, but it's pretty boilerplate, I guess. So I feel like tabling it again is counterproductive to moving forward with this. I think we need to move forward with it personally.
I agree.
So.
I think that.
Reese must be awake.
I just want to say, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
The November meeting is not posted online. I just looked. And I think that if it would have been for first public hearing, you would have had more businesses show up because, as we know, this could be a massive cost to business owners, to some of them. And I think that if there are folks that are saying they went directly to business owners like Scott Kelly or Willie, and they had an idea of what this could cost them, they would probably have some comments.
What would it mean if
Scott Kelly already has the system and he's trying to find somebody to dig it and put it in. He's not fighting this at all. And I personally went to Willie and handed them paperwork. Brittany, I'm not fighting with you, but I have talked to people. I've talked to the people that it's going to impact the most.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know how, like, we can't keep postponing it.
I don't think anyone's fighting anything. I think that if people had an idea of what cost this could be to them, that they would probably be showing up. And as we talked about when Aaron Moore was in this meeting, when I worked for the town, his concerns were how vague and boilerplate this whole document was, and the fact that the town could or could not decide to enforce it at any given time because there's no black and white answer. And those were all things that I said at the meeting as well.
If it's tabled, that's till January meeting, and we're right where we are right now.
Yes.
Mhm.
Back to second reading.
With more public comment because they've had time to read. Is that?
Yep.
But
The two, I'd go on to further comment, the two businesses that are affected the most are, or the two, I guess I'll just leave it said that way. The two businesses that are affected the most are campgrounds and distilleries are the two biggest, I don't want to use the word offenders, but
perpetrators.
Ultimately, what you try and do with commercial waste is to turn it into the equivalent of household waste. So, however much work each one of these commercial businesses have to put into facilitating this, kind of dictates the cost that they're going to incur. So, and like I said, Josh, I'm sad to hear that he's not with you guys, but
Yeah, he no longer even lives in Ennis, Montana.
okay. Yeah, that's maybe, Mayor, you could speak to the urgency of why we need to continue to move forward.
GEQ permit was due before, and they are changing the regulations based on a watershed. So anticipation from the engineering companies is that there are going to be heavier restrictions on municipalities and our requirements for meeting biological demand, all those things. If we do not meet those requirements, then the town as a whole gets fined, right? So then that is all taxpayers taking a fine for something that basically they're not producing.
So has the discharge analysis already occurred?
Discharge analysis for, like,
Any individual business?
no. And that's why we didn't put time limits on it too, is Eric has done sampling here, there, and yonder to kind of see, and then we've seen waves of when it happens, and it's pretty defined as to where those waves are coming from in our system.
Do we have access to that?
You can certainly talk with Eric at any point.
Because we've done an analysis in the past that we might believe there's different results. I'd love to see his.
Okay.
Or we would. I apologize, I'm showing up late, but I've been out of state, on the road. I thought Josh was on this, and unfortunately, he's gone.
All right, council. It's kind of to that point.
Yeah, right. You have to understand the town, you guys. Sure.
I'm begging.
Yeah, the town is more than willing to work with Willie's, one of the largest employers in the municipality. But it's one of those things I feel like we've given it adequate time. I can't speak to, what Brittany was talking about with posted or what have you, but.
Corey, even if it was missed, it wasn't legally posted.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to dispute that.
Sure. Yeah, and back to its boilerplate nature, it's just something we need to get put through to further the discussion with all the businesses in town. So I don't, and yeah, like I said, we're all going to be willing to work with you guys on all of this stuff. So I don't want to.
It's complicated, right?
Yeah.
It's very complicated, and I do not want to get to the
versus discharge from a chemical.
I do not want to get to the point where each business has its own ordinance. Because if you look at some of the larger municipalities, they actually have written for each brewery.
I'm aware, yeah.
He's like, I read Big Forks Brewing, and I'm like, this is a book. They're just for their brewing company is bigger than our entire, for the whole town. I was like, whoa. Trying something nice and slow so that we have a base and then create timelines for how to accomplish this together so that the whole system, taxpayers, business owners, all come out without having any detriment to the system.
Which I believe we all have the same goal. Absolutely.
All right. Is there
I move to approve pre-treat ordinance number 152, an amendment to Title 10, setting for uniform requirements for industrial users. The public-owned treatment works.
Second?
I don't know. That was a tie. What is Christy doing?
Who is that?
It's Christy. Mute her. Whew. We'll get her on the vote, whatever that is. I don't know which one of you has taken the second. Okay. All right, call on the vote.
Aye.
Christie, calling the vote.
Aye. Aye.
All in favor? Motion carries. All right, on to ordinance 153. In addition to Title 8, Chapter 6, regulating camping on public ways and property. Public comment. Second call for public comment on 153, in addition to Title 8, regulating camping on public ways and property. Last call for public comment on ordinance 153. Closing public comment on ordinance 153, opening it up to commission.
I'm in favor of it.
Yep.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance number 152, 2022, in addition to Title 8, Chapter 6, regulating camping on public ways and property.
You meant 153, right?
153. Oh, yeah, I said 152, sorry. My bad. Yes.
Second.
Yeah, don't second the wrong one.
All right. Any further discussion? When I'm calling the vote.
Aye.
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 Christie.
Aye.
All right, ordinance 153 carries. On to regular agenda. Roll call. We kind of were there.
Aye, aye.
Aye, aye, aye,
Aye.
And Nikki.
That's it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On to the minutes of the November 10th meeting. Additions or corrections?
I move to approve the November 10th.
All right,
Yeah. we need to put glasses on so I can-
I second.
and Corey seconds. And Christie, you're first on the vote list for minutes.
Aye.
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 All right. On to public comment on non-agenda items. If you have one, please step to the microphone, say your name, and public comment.
Kirk Cardoso, is this thing on? Kirk Cardoso with Fully Loaded Tacos. I listened to last month's meeting here with the commission, and I was shocked to hear that a commissioner had brought up a licensing fee of $5,500 for a taco trailer. Now, with that being said, I want everybody to know, we felt out the public, we did our due diligence to see if this was a viable business. We heard from many people that's what they wanted. We provided it. We stay open long hours so working families can get a nice meal at a reasonable price and take that home to their families. Now, when that was mentioned, it was based off of Bozeman. And I hate to do this, but I guess I got to remind Ennis, we're not Bozeman. Bozeman's 75,000 to 80,000 people. They can serve a lot more people in a day than us, especially during this season. I find it absurd that it was even mentioned. And I would like a name of the other business owners that brought these concerns to the town commissioner that brought this up for a proposition. Is that town commissioner willing to give those names up?
During non-agenda items, the commission is not allowed to respond.
Okay, well, I'm just going to assume it was all hearsay and that's acting out of pure self-interest. I'm going to let it be known now. I've heard a lot of things from people, customers that come to our window and tell us what other business owners are saying. I'm not going to spill all that out right here, but I will use this in legal court for interference of business. I have letters of statements from these customers of what has been said. I know Gravel Bar has tried to interfere. I know some other people have tried to interfere with what we are doing. Now, it's no cakewalk for us to be in that trailer when it's negative 24 or even at these temps. If it's more fees, a water fee, whatever that is going to satisfy this commissioner of what needs to be done, I'll gladly pay the town of Ennis a water fee if I can hook up to a spigot at a town hall and fill my tank. I highly doubt that's the issue, as you can use your utility expenses as a tax write-off. So I don't see where any of this pencils out. I'm here to say we're not going anywhere. We're going to serve this town, and I'm not going to be bullied. My fiance is not going to be bullied. And if we keep hearing these disparaging comments from other business owners, we will take legal action. That's a promise. I'm not going to put up with this. The town loves what we're doing. We're providing a great service. And if we're going to impose a fee like that, it's going to go across the board, or I will have whoever proposes this for discrimination. That's not a threat, that's a promise. I don't like what's going on. And if this is an issue, then maybe you need to reevaluate your business model if you can't compete with the taco trailer.
Can I just ask, is that really on the table? A $5,500 annual fee to have a taco truck? I know you guys can't respond, but I mean, I found out today, I'm like, is this real? Or is this rumor? Maybe after you could tell me where I could find out if it is real or rumor.
YouTube. Back to that channel that's so thrilling to watch.
Okay, so that is also something I should watch on YouTube via the city council, correct?
You can watch those.
Okay.
I watched the whole previous year before I became mayor. It was definitely barely enough to keep me awake most nights, so I
Okay.
could get caught up.
I watched the meeting.
Okay.
Let me say something more.
Now, I've noticed in that meeting, that lady was speaking pretty clearly into the microphone up until the discussion about us came up. I had to put earphones in to hear her as she was whispering. Now, was that trying to be concealed? Was the truth not trying to come out? I'm glad I watched that meeting, because now I get to call this out. I know this commissioner has called the public or the sanitarian on us. We've met with the sanitarian, and just for your information, ma'am, that sanitarian has come by. He's given us some pointers on improvement. We've taken that advice and we've ran with it. Now, it's no here in town has made plenty of people sick after eating there. Maybe I should call the sanitarian and have them check when you're dating your food and how long that food's been sitting in your fridge, how many times that food's been reheated. If you want to play games and throw stones in a glass house, I will come after you with everything I have, and I have more information on you than you will ever have on me.
Is there any other public comment on non-agenda items? It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell. Is it on? Yes. Okay. Hi, my name is Lisa Roberts. My comment is not regarding that. I learned today that there has been an employee that was asked for their resignation and that she complied with her resignation. This employee is Brittany Hirsch. Brittany started in June of 2021 while I was still a member of the town council. Good help is hard to find, as several of us are business owners in Ennis and know that hardworking individuals with a strong work ethic are few and far between, especially those who have their own housing. Brittany brought several, and I was just really dismayed to hear this because she has been such an asset to the town. Brittany and I always didn't see eye to eye on every issue, and that's okay. That's what public discourse is all about, is finding different perspectives on issues. But some of the things that Brittany did do was she was able to bring an automated process to online bill pay for utilities. which is integral to a modern point of sale system, point of service system. I know that's how I get my bill and that's how I pay my bill online. And I'm very appreciative of that service. She also was integral in updating the business license ordinance, which had sat stagnant for several years until she took the initiative to update that ordinance. And that included the short-term rental licensing portion of that, which we all know is a good way for us, the town, to at least start inventorying short-term rentals and seeing how many we have, and then to maybe develop a plan. She also expanded written processes and procedures to the utility billing situation, and I appreciate that. So again, I just wanted to say that I'm really sorry and dismayed that she has left. I think she or was asked to resign. I think she brought a lot of good things to the town and was ambitious and willing to work and improve those processes. So just in the future, I think we should work with people and allow them to be trained and cross-trained, which has been mentioned in the town's audit for several years. That is one of the things that we need to be doing. And not let one employee be an island. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Tony Tregoli lured me in. I'm just going to go on support Kirk, what he was saying on this. If there's a fee that you guys are thinking that is $5,500 for a food truck on an annual basis, I think it's ridiculous. I remember when we were looking at Tap into Ennis, we were trying to find food trucks to put food, have food available for all the patrons coming into the town, and we couldn't find any, right? So we looked to the locals, right? And Fully Loaded Taco is a new business venture that's doing extremely well. So I think you guys should be supporting that and helping it. How many times have we seen stuff on Facebook about Ask Ennis about how restaurants shut down early because they don't have enough staff, and here we have somebody starting a new business, and I'd be shocked if you guys approved anything with a fee like that. So just my 2 cents.
Here, here.
Any other public or any other comment on non-agenda items? Once, going twice. Last call for public comment on non-agenda items. All right. That's closed. Moving on to unfinished business, which is the planning board formation. We did have another letter of interest. I was going to get with Christy and give her all those letters and then start forming guidelines and regulations for it and get an initial group together. So that's where that's at. Still nothing from the county as to their designation to our board, which we cannot ever completely form ours if the county does not designate
And they
a person.
Somebody? They got, did they?
They do have, I don't know the grades of planners, but they have hired planner 1 and planner 2. No, planner 2.
I think they hired a director of planning.
Yeah, and then they have a planner 2.
Planner 2.
And then they have planner. I don't know what those mean, but there's different grades of planners. I now know that. I'm sure Susie would have caught that on her last conference. She said there was lots of letters behind different people's names, and that meant something different for everybody. So alphabet soup behind your name. So that's where that's at. We still really need a designation from the county for that to proceed.
Did you get any more names?
Leona Sedgwick put in a letter of interest as well. So that basically puts us at where we need to be minus our county person. So that's where it's at. So I'll get with Christy, give her those names. They can at least start going through expectations, guidelines, procedures. Again, my whole big push is to get it done before and trained, and a good form of training done before we hit 2024, because 2024 is growth policy year. So we need that good group together, get us going in the right way. All right.
Lisa Roberts again with my only public comment on the planning board, since it is a 7-member committee required by state statute. When I was on the commission, we worked with a couple of legislators, state legislators that were like, hey, what are your concerns? And we brought up the whole 7-person thing. And so with the legislature starting again in 2021, it might be worth what's that?
2023.
Yeah, sorry, or this next year, 2023, starting. It might be worthwhile to reaching out to Ken Walsh, our representative, and other representatives that represent small communities to say, this is a huge barrier to getting growth policies, subdivision regulations, zoning regulations. I know Sheridan is facing the same thing to say, hey, can we have a tiered system for this level of town? Can we have 3 people for this level of town, 5 people? And to let your legislator knows what a barrier this has been to create a planning board, and not just in the current, but it always has historically as well. So I think it might be worth, a nice letter or something to some local legislators. I don't know is it Jeff Weldon or no? Who's the state representative or
I think
state
it might
Senate?
honestly be something that they approach leave cities and towns with.
Yeah.
So they've got to be seeing the same thing across the board, and they're used to tiered systems.
Yeah,
so.
it's not the only time. I mean, I just talked with the mayor of Sheridan, and they're in the same boat. And I would imagine that every other small town has a hard time filling a 7-person board when they've got 900 people. So anyway.
Does that board have to be city residents, not county?
I think there's designations.
And it still has to be within the planning district.
Yeah, so I think it's
So
a
that's
mile
within
outside.
a mile outside our.
And then you could do something like there's a city. There's a couple different options, but it's still like 7 members, which is, I mean, we only have 3 county commissioners. We only have 5 commissioners. So it just seems like
there's only 5 on the zoning board of adjustment. 5 seems to be an easier number to come up with than 7.
Yeah, and it seems like a palatable amendment or bill that would get broad support across the state to change that statute.
Yes, 5. I can still count. And any other thing on?
Mayor, have we reached out to these 5 individuals that we currently have?
And that's why I thought if we went with Christy, since I'm not going to be on it, I can't head another board, or it's not appropriate for me to be on that. I don't know. Interface. 1 has to be a council member, so put that in Christy's court and get them rallied. Go from there. Christy's is the designated.
So that takes us to 5. That takes us to 6.
That's ours. Yeah, we have 6. We have her and 5 letters of interest. So that's almost a full house. We have to have one of those positions specifically says by Montana code that it is designated by the county.
And we've been bugging them.
And they've run ads several times and not gotten anything. It's not a real exciting volunteer position, but that's where it's at. Could be. So if you know anybody, you can always send them to the county commissioners with a letter of interest. See how that goes. And then we had budgeted for training for that as well. All right, on to scheduled matters. So with the next legislative session coming up, Montana League of Cities and Towns usually puts together a packet of resolutions basically on a broad basis of this is where, as small towns and municipalities, as we kind of know what's going to come up, this is the basis of what we will support as the league. So they had 11 resolutions that I reviewed and they put forward. And then you can review those. And then as a town, do one resolution that says, yes, we are in support of what you're going to do when you're at legislative session. Legislative session also happens over the same time executive session happens for mayors, city managers, all of that. So they schedule it to be in Helena so that we can be there during legislative session, or at least the sections that they think are going to be most crucial to small towns and things of that nature. So that's kind of what this is, the background behind it. Any public comment on that? Jay? Council? It was a word for you to kind of look over. I was going to put the main resolution that's page 1 up for just vote next month. But I want to kind of feel it out before we went through a whole lot of discussion. Yeah, I mean, they all seemed very in line with the needs of all of it. Building code reserves, property taxes, housing, land use, environment, infrastructure, retirement benefits, support natural resource of communities, public safety, support of what else? Oh, and then there's a coronavirus, because that's never good. So if anybody wants more exciting reading, those are for review, and then we'll have the resolution on January's agenda. Good? All right. Last one on there is I got a final email from Sean Morris is the Armitage Alley update. So I'd forwarded you Judge Berger's ruling on it. There was a 30-day appeal window that was not, there was no appeal filed. So that case is closed and ruled in favor of the town. That's the end of that. Ta-da. All right. Department reports.
I have a quiet report this month. We did meet as a board, we met with the consultant from the state library, getting ready to think about beginnings of the strategic planning process for the library. So, yeah, Suzanne Reimer kind of walked us through that process, and after the first of the year, we will be kind of diving in.
What is the strategic plan involved?
It's not so different from the master planning process.
Okay.
So right now, it's educating everyone, our board members, on the process. The next step will be gathering data and input from the public about where we are, where we want to be, what the public needs from the library, and then how we can accommodate that, within the scope of growth, what we're planning on, and that all relates to, what we'll need to accomplish that in the future.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll be in touch. Any questions for me?
That's all the excitement.
Okay.
Law enforcement, you have John's report. Questions? This door's always open. I see y'all. Look at you all with your books.
Hey, that's part of my commission report.
Oh, I have your goodie too. Oh, sorry. Susie, we're going to skip to you. Susie.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
We can hear you really loud here.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Gosh, I don't want to blow you out of there. Okay. So this is kind of just a briefing. I have done Um, 4 duplex permits. All of them are for the North 40. Madison Valley Hospital, we had a conference call with all the everyone of interest, I guess, is the best way to say it. They have some work to do. They were hoping, and I don't know if James will want to jump in and say anything regarding that, but they just wanted to secure the land. So they were hoping to, I don't want to say cut corners, but maybe so, not go through the whole process of the annexation, just kind of wanted to secure the annexation. So I believe James and their attorney is working on some sort of agreement that the town it'll come to the council when that's completed. Madison Foods, the same thing. We had a conference call on there. We've given them our initial report, and they did file a document, but there's nothing that we need more information from them. So they're back to the drawing table. I received a conditional use permit for the Lure Inn. I haven't started processing that, so it'll be probably the next couple weeks it'll come to the council and then be on the agenda. And I've continued with my sign compliance. Was successful in one. I'm working on the second one. And then some questions that you asked me to check on from last month. The place, Lindstrom's down on Stephen Street. They have 4 structures that are up. They are permitted for 5. The one that's not up is on the back northeast corner. And on the permit, it says cabin/garage. And I have not sent them a letter yet to remind them of their landscaping, but I will do so. And I did confirm with Officer Moore that to park on a sidewalk is a violation. And then I was asked to check into the zoning for the taco bus parking in various places. It does not change any of the zoning. So they're not in violation of anything by parking where they park. And I did complete the T&D for the car wash. And do you have any questions for me?
What is the conditional use for the Lure Me In?
It is that he wants to make them into individual condos and sell them, and then he would be the property manager for the people. I actually received it, I think, Tuesday. I haven't dug into it that much yet, but that's the general gist of it.
Any other questions for Susie? There's a question from the public. Susie.
Okay.
Hang
Hi, Susie. It's Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
How are you?
Thank you for using the microphone. It's hard to hear.
You're welcome. My question is regarding those cabins on Stephen Street.
Okay.
If memory serves me correctly, part of their conditional use permit was that they would put in a sidewalk on
Correct.
on the north side of Stephen Street. So I just was curious if they are going to be held to that as well.
Yes, it's part of their permit, and they will have to do that. That was part of the conversation about if they parked, excuse me, I'll turn this off. If a car parked on the sidewalk, if they would be in violation. And yes, they would be.
Yes. So there should be enough room for a sidewalk and a parallel parked car, I would imagine. But anyway, thank you very much for following up on that.
Yep.
Any other questions for Susie?
Yeah, I guess maybe Susie, if you could check into if there is enough room for parallel parking.
Well, I believe it's got to be a 6 foot wide sidewalk, and it, according to the notes, it is allowed in on city property in the public right of way portion. So I guess I'll have to talk to Eric I will talk to Eric and see how wide the right of way is and how wide the street is. I will make a note to talk to Eric.
Perfect. Thank you, Susie.
Yes.
Anything else? She's good. All right. You guys have Eric's, which I love the last line. Mostly this month has been a lot of snow plowing. Yay. Any questions or anything that I need to get with Eric with? So again, if you read down in the bottom, back to monthly samples, we were high on some levels, so we're trying to figure out if that's a fluke, and have done a couple follow-ups on that. Any other questions? Or are we moving on? Clerk? Ginger's been a little busy. It's you. Your turn. Any questions?
One of the biggies is the letter that went to the county.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be receiving more, in essence, COVID money, quite a bit. So we did put out a letter to them requesting some of that. And Great West Engineering did help with that. With our water PPR, showing like costs of what, improvements that are going to be upcoming that need to be made. What those costs are, so that showed, in essence, how much money down the road we're going to need for various projects.
All right. James, legal, you're up. What you got?
I do
Oh,
a
sorry.
question for Ginger. What's, I guess, his Maria's our stand-in right now for Brittany.
For utility billing.
Okay. What's this is all news to me that Brittany has turned in a resignation. I'm just curious what the plan is moving forward.
You run the position, and you have to do. We're coinciding in-house and public at the same time to get that filled.
So she's looking to be replaced? What? Sorry. I don't know what I'm supposed to say here or not, but I don't understand why she's gone. Is that not something we can talk about, or?
You don't do any kind of human resource during a public meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. All right.
Hello.
Any other questions? Very good. Okay, we're on to James's legal.
Hello. Good evening. This is your town attorney, James Greenbaum, reporting from a remote location here, close to Santa's North Pole. I've been basically like shoveling snow for the last week and a half, and I'm trying to dig out and get ready to report to you. So I'm gonna throw the shovel down here over here, okay, for now. And it's been crazy out there. It's totally nuts. But anyway, I am delighted to give you a end of year report, and mostly I just want to thank all of you on the council, and particularly Nikki, our mayor. This was your first year, right?
Correct. We trudged through that.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, being your town attorney, which, I take it for what it's worth, but I truly appreciate the ability to serve the town of Ennis in the capacity as your attorney, town attorney, doing the criminal prosecution, which, I mean, I'm not going to get into that as an end of year report, because you guys all know from the reports that come from John Moore and his able assistant Matt Fisher as to what we're doing to keep the town safe. And but on a from a legislative roundup, I mean, this has been, in my experience, I've been with the town now since I think I started in 2015. So we're coming up on like 8 years of service for the community. And again, it's a privilege. It's truly an honor to be able to serve you all. Uh, but under the leadership of Mayor Nikki Haas and this new council, this new commission, I mean, you guys really need to um, pat yourselves on the back, because what you've accomplished this year probably is more than in the last 7 years, at least from a legislative standpoint. And again, that's not without the assistance of Ginger, and of course Susie Sprout has been like fantastic taking over the zoning administration. But let me just run through like a list of some of the things that you guys have accomplished, and that I had a bit of a hand in, which obviously, I mean, that's part of what I do. So we created a zoning board. We adopted rules and procedures for the zoning board, and we had several hearings, which were very successful. There were no appeals from those hearings. We adopted a marijuana ordinance, regulations that were consistent with the county code. And in fact, the one business that was not compliant, I believe that's no longer there. You just passed the camping regulations and adopted that on a second reading. We are continuing to work on the annexation process and procedures, which is becoming more and more of the sort of thing that we have to deal with in the town, and it's of significant importance. And again, I want to thank Susie and your consultant, Forrest Mandeville. Both of them are working very well together, and when needed, I step in. But I mean, we're really moving forward on that stuff in a very positive manner. One of the things that we haven't been able to reach, though, was the parking regulations on North 40, but I think that's still pending. You just adopted your water, your pre-treatment ordinance. That's fantastic. I didn't have much to do with that one, but it's in the update here. But we did work on water and sewer rate regulations, and we had an issue with water and sewer collections, which we successfully negotiated. So we were able to bring all that revenue back in. We had, I believe, a public meeting policy, which you adopted, that I drafted. You had zoning fees amendment. I believe you adopted that as well. And business license fees and administration update, which again you adopted. If we go back to the first of the year, Mayor Nikki, you came to me, Mayor, and you asked me about, the ambulance lease. And that was like one of the first legislative things or, administrative things that we accomplished. And then, of course, we had the library employee agreement, which we created in conformance with Montana, the insurance requirements. So we extended the coverage there and maintain compliance. So, I mean, that's my end of year report. And if there's any questions, and as we go forward into new year, I mean, I just hope that we continue on this path. You've made incredible progress in the course of 1 year, and I'm just glad to have been part of it.
Thank you, James. All right, commission.
Got my laptop.
Yay! You can have your goodies since you picked it up.
Oh, is that it? Or did you bring those goodies?
I brought those goodies. I said
Thank
if you guys picked up your Chromebooks, then
Oh.
I would bring you your goodies.
Oh, lucky me.
All right, Brandy, what you got?
I have my phone here. And I'm not touching my phone. Nobody should be touching their phone. Don't touch your phone. And I got that done too. By the way, we're gonna need bigger binders because like I can't fit anywhere in there. By the way, that was just a nightmare.
I should have brought my book when I came yesterday. I'll bring it.
I didn't know if I'm supposed to. I did have somebody complain. Yeah, he was supposed to come to the non-agenda, but didn't, because I kind of gave him an answer. He wants the deer removed. He has an issue with the deer. I told him you should come. That's all I got.
Sorry. And then I got to go back to Chrissy.
Oh yeah.
So I guess the first item I have, I'm on a board called the Madison Hills Amphitheater and Parks Association, and we recently just received the go-ahead from all of our county commissioners to put a trail system up above the golf course on county property. We needed their approval for grant funds for doing this. So that's pretty awesome from an activity standpoint for the community, which I think is good. More money. Yeah, I think it's good from a community health standpoint to have more areas as the North 40 continues to get built out. Those are, and whenever, if and when the park floods, that kind of goes away as an area where our community members can go out and recreate. So, also I attended a webinar on short-term rentals, and that I think I was the only person from Montana in attendance. I think it was taking place in Virginia or Alabama. And they went on to talk about it's recognized statewide that they charge vacation rentals or short-term rentals fees for the impacts that they have on communities. So yeah, that was, I guess, just pretty interesting, thinking about the key players that it affects, being like motels, primarily. If a VRBO is not a registered business within the city limits, it does not incur the same expenses, the bed taxes that the hotels have to pay, and they're offering a similar service. So I think definitely some more discussion to be had on that. I'm not sure what we have as far as VRBOs that are recognized within the town, but our last, when we were doing the master plan, I believe we had identified 42, and I don't know to date if we have like 10 that have actually applied for a business license.
Oh, I thought it was less than that when I asked.
Probably.
We only had
Okay.
6 last time I checked.
So
it's very interesting that was the Twin Bridges thing that you said.
right, so Twin Bridges just recently put in place a cap on VRBOs, 2% of the city, of the number of homes in the municipality of Twin Bridges can be used for a VRBO. And yes, the commissioners did get some feedback on that from certain individuals in a negative way. Some people rely upon that as a form of income, but I guess they're going to have to turn their, if they weren't currently recognized within the city of Twin, they'll just have to do a long-term rental, which make sure our employees here in town can live in town, which is, I think we're all in agreement that it's in short supply. So, what else? The Armitage Alley. I guess I just wanted to, congratulate the town on their victory. And I personally think we need to put a fence in place there, and I don't know, or on both sides of the property, just to make sure nobody's veering off of onto private property. And what else? I guess I was curious on floodplain assessment. I know that's the area that flooded last year. I'm just curious if that, I don't think it's actually in the floodplain, is it?
That falls under the counties.
Okay.
Not under the river like that, so it's something that we should check in with them.
Yeah.
I think Jonathan Weaver, our floodplain administrator, could probably answer those questions, because he looks at Madison counties as well. So it's something that we can certainly have.
Aren't they doing a study, Ginger? It's been like a multi-year study to revamp the Madison, because the current floodplain is literally a map from like 1962.
Yeah, it's not complete yet.
With a red sharpie on it. I think they're in the process of doing those study, and maybe it was a funding thing of running their computer models, and just like Morse Creek was revamped, and if you have the opportunity to go on the FEMA map, it's quite interesting, but I think they're looking to do that for the Madison as well, but it was just gonna take several years.
And they were starting to gather data way back in March, and then I'm sure with June, the way it was even far more interesting.
I think we're in the 3rd year.
Yeah, it's been a while, yeah, but their LiDAR study.
Anything else?
That's good enough.
You got it all? All right, Christy, commission comment.
Yeah. Sorry I can't be there. I guess there was nobody at that meeting that Kirk is talking about. I have a herniated disc in my back, so I stood up. I was not whispering. The Bozeman rate of 5,500 was brought to me by Amy Kelly. I didn't look it up. I also said it would be unrealistic. I said what my taxes are at my building and what my utility bills are at my building. And I said something more around that line would be realistic. And we got another letter from the Kellys this week addressing this situation. I have nothing against you. Whatever hearsay you have in Ennis is hearsay. I only talked to the lady that works for the county sanitarian in passing, and I asked her about the fact that Amy and Scott are saying there's 4 more coming down the pipeline, and there's 4 more food trucks waiting for approval. So nothing again was said about you. I'm sorry you feel this way, but It is what it is. All we are is addressing concerned business people. That's all I have to say.
Write off your expenses.
All right. Let's see. I don't know. So end of the year, James pretty much hit all the highlights. So he took all that. We were literally passed more ordinance in the first 6 months than the last 6 years when I went to the book. So, and it was a lot of just cleanup. We're going to continue with cleanup. January will be starting with 2 amendments to the current code. One, we did marijuana, but we did not strike the word medical from the entire code. So there's parts in zoning so there's an inconsistency. So there will be an amendment to the ordinance that we passed regarding marijuana to strike the word medical from the rest of the town code so it's weird. It's in all kinds of places. So thankfully we don't have to name it all. But if you'd like to start reading the entire book for some spare time, can't fall asleep, go ahead. You can find all the places in the town code where medical marijuana is listed. So that word, hopefully through the process, will be struck so that there's congruity there. And then we have some parking issues out on the North 40. So that there will be an amendment to that section regarding parking, which were also, if I remember right, in the original plat that they were supposed to be no parking on streets or one-ways anyway. So just getting that officially in the book. So those 2 will be amendments. And then I think after that, the goal is I might take a little bit of a breather because we have literally had public hearings since January all the way through. Yay. So they did their due diligence and thought through that. Actually, some staff issues have come up with some amendments as well. So we might be able to get through those in January. My target for February and March will be actually reviewing job descriptions and the policy book and updating it. And then after that, the goal should be about that time we should have the wastewater per done. So we can pull those together. And then start looking at streets so that we can pull those 3 together. Water, wastewater, and streets, and those plans together. And hopefully all that comes into a nice ball in 2024. Whew. See my 4-year plan. It's all starting to congrue together. And then towards the end of 2023, midway, once we have more people in town and stuff again, we're going to start looking at the zoning. And it's monstrosity that needs fixed. So that's kind of, James gave you the recap of last year. This is kind of the flow towards 2023, 2024. I also was told to keep it short or else I authorized Ginger to tase me. So with that, on any unscheduled matters for next month's agenda. Anybody can think of?
I didn't get something on the agenda.
Email me. I have a little business card. And there's also a whole policy on when stuff has to be in. See,
I thought you were going to send YouTube, so this is awesome.
No. Yeah, because there was stuff loading in at the last second and somebody would be like, well, I want to be on the agenda next week. And so I have a policy of when my deadlines are for all information to be in so that there's time for the council to review it and read through all these fabulous 28 pages that I give them on a regular basis. They love it. They love their midnight reading. Nod.
So much.
So that's pretty much it. Any other questions for me? Lisa?
May I make a request that, whether it be ordinances that are up for consideration or other pertinent information be posted online with the agenda?
We're still looking at different ways to put it.
I know it's probably complicated as to where do you dig for it, but maybe if it's just attached to the agenda, it would be super helpful.
When we looked at the agenda today online, we would have seen it better before we got here. My fault. I appreciate your offer.
Okay. Start figuring out those kinks. Other kinks. Like we have a sign, an informational sign that's supposed to, well, it showed up and it showed up broken. A reader board.
It should have been broken?
It showed up broken, so we wait. I ordered that in January, filled out a application for a sign for the town. Found where the town doesn't have to have a sign, but I wanted it there in case of emergencies. I would have loved to have it this summer with all the water debacle. It would have been great, but it wasn't here. It still wasn't here, and then finally showed, and it showed broken. So it went back, and someday we'll have a new sign that's not broken, and we're hoping to be able to make it an easier interface as far as information and getting, especially as we get towards growth policy and having those interactions and those meetings posted in as many ways as we can. We've got a little Facebook thing, but just driving past the sign, I see the one at the school, and in case of an emergency is my biggest backup. Is that and a generator for here? Because we also had power go out. We hold court here. We had power go out on a Monday morning, and I didn't know if we would be able to hold court. There's people that have to be transferred from other facilities sometimes. This building needs to have power no matter what, and especially in the worst case scenario. That's it. So that's on my agenda too. With that, and for all the wells, so that we have power no matter what happens. That would be great.
Good job.
Yay! And hydrant replacement. So that's on the water permit. That was my big perk. All right, claims.
Move to approve.
Second.
Aye.
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 Okay. Claims are approved.
Move to adjourn.
Oh, second.
All those in favor?
Opposed?
Aye.
What?
Aye.
No.
Can't oppose, but
What you?
no, I cannot oppose your motion, but I just wanted to say, I mean, if you're adjourned, it doesn't matter. But I just wanted to follow up, Nikki, with that marijuana business license. I don't know that you need another ordinance to strike those other provisions because we replaced the existing medical marijuana ordinance. And
Amendment
if you-
strike all other sections. We'll figure it out.
yeah, not a big deal. Thanks.
Just a little cleanup. Thank you. There was
All
people
right,
tonight.
thank you. Good night.
Oh.
Dude, where'd Josh go?
Baltimore City.
Oh my gosh, that's the first one all year.
You give him my
First one all year.
on the ledger. But I helped out with the original zoning team. I forgot what you call that. What do you guys call it?
It's just a zoning board, the
Yeah,
three-person board, or?
No.
What do you council members came to ask for help from people? And I just happen to have a degree in urban studies and planning, and that's actually what I did for a while. But due to the way I was thrown under the bus by one of your city council members in front of both my bosses, Robin Blazer and Lori Long Branch, I refused to work with her again. And we know who it is. So it's not my responsibility, nor was I ever told it was my responsibility to go tell every single business owner that there was a meeting involved to go talk to these planning people. I was never told to do that. The steering committee.
During what you call it.
So when they're saying we never knew about it, and somebody says, well, he's sitting right there, where's you guys? How come you didn't? I'm like, that's so freaking unprofessional, but I didn't say anything. And I'm sure I could hop on through the county commissioner, who I know, I'm sure I could probably go that way and help you guys out. But you have that concerns me. I'd be working for that one. Just want you to know.
I'm good. Tina, how are you? I got to see your children in the store.
Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to express my concerns on it. I did volunteer my time for free and help out there on the bus with no appreciation to defend somebody else's lack of action. And that was very unprofessional. And I had to defend myself in front of both my bosses as I walk out the door. Nothing against you, man. I just want you to know where I'm coming from, is where I fell off the map on my volunteering for that commission with the degree that they're planning. Probably the only guy on the committee with a degree who probably drafted the largest memorandum of understanding in Southern California with the bicycle committee and the Northern County Transit District. So I'm just saying.
Do you need a card too? Yes. I'm like, it's my first one of the year. I'm at a goal. Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
Nice to meet
Yeah.
you.
It's-
So, background. Hi. Hi. That's some big shoes.
Sure. Yeah, like she was saying, it's current reading is out of compliance right now. So
Enjoying
we're,
winter?
I don't disagree, it is, but I think we're sure
When I came all the way from Billings.
sure.
It's just the wind here. Like Billings, I swear gets more snow, but we just get the wind.
Right. I didn't want to. I was trying to figure out how to put it out there, and I was literally quoting the engineer. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep.
Sure.
It's just the right thing. And this, I drove across the river today and I saw the little ice chunk things floating in there, and I'm like, I can't handle another gorge.
Sure.
I had like a full. That was day 4 for me with the emergencies. Oh, you mean
Right.
they just okay.
Yeah.
If the gorge is fine, just don't take out the park again. I mean, it was literally I think day 4.
Oh, that's.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
And then, I mean, the things that you have to do to go.
Yeah, and
like,
I was,
it
Josh was here.
I think
throughout
Eric
all of
contacted the
that
Army
stuff,
Corps
even
of
for the
Engineers
wastewater
twice
treatment
a week
tour, and
for
I was
almost
like,
3 months.
cool, we're
Because
moving
you have to get their
forward.
blessing,
You
and
know,
you have to talk to Fish and Wildlife
Aaron's the
Parks,
only
and then you
other
got it, and
person
then you
that
got it, and then
came
you got it. And
from
then
the camper
they're like,
corner
yeah, you can go ahead and
that
fix
came
that.
and was like, do you have
And
an
Shorty
issue
helped him. He'd done it the first
getting
time.
your wastewater in compliance with that household waste? And he's like, nope, no problem.
I'll get you a card.
It's like, cool.
And
And this stuff was like,
and then I'm gonna get you
wait till
Eric's
you
too.
try reading through it. I
But
can't remember
we're just
how
gonna
many
take it
pages
one
it
step at a
is,
time
but
and work with the businesses and see what
yeah,
they need.
just way
And
over,
we
way
know that
above
that's
my-
gonna be different. I mean,
my
you guys
pay
already had a
grade.
plan. He said
Tabled
that there was
that one
basically
time, but it's just
in the
getting that
growth
ball
plan or
moving
something, there was
forward.
something
We're
with
not,
that with Willie's
you
already.
know, we can
That you
make
pretty much
amendments to it,
is what Josh had told
we
us.
just need to have the boilerplate stuff in place, and then
Yeah.
to start moving forward.
Yeah.
We need facts, not assumptions, when we start to get there.
Sure.
We actually still on but it's a little bit at a time. Distilleries have to.
40 gallons all
all
the time.
that.
Yeah.
We actually put the whole gallons out, give it to a
There's gonna be a little fine tuning here or there. I know he had questions on like what
Sure.
cleaning solutions or what the process. I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Of course, tell.
Yeah.
Nope, I think
And we talked about that even
yeah, other than
yesterday.
going door to door to each business, and, you know, we were talking about the sign out front.
Everything should be all good.
Unfortunately, we lost Josh. I was on the road. There's a lot of
Wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming you guys.
So that part's not too bad. The only thing maybe we have a gear on, we're gonna
Oh,
try
sure.
to
All the same page, we're addressing this.
find somebody
Now
that
with
can
the carte blanche,
and
copy
flush
paste of like
because
all
it's
of
just,
it.
it's not
Right.
drinkable.
Sure.
But it's
Absolutely.
So we may be able to find somebody that can use it either as fuel or clean solution.
That's what I was
something
thinking.
like
Yeah,
that.
that one house.
Pull it out,
Yeah.
drinking stuff. We gotta be careful with the state to move alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
We sell.
Right, right.
So they look at us funny when we say we're
So,
dumping
who's the
it.
new guy?
Yeah.
Selling
Don't think so.
non.
Have you?
Yeah.
So
Are you the guy walking in shorts now?
There's always one more little thing.
Yeah.
You've been walking in shorts for 8 years.
He walks past my house. I'm always just like, he's still wearing shorts.
Yeah, he never does it.
I guess it was 2 months. Minus 20.
Yeah, no, I know.
The engineer was here to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Anderson lives.
We started doing what we're doing. Chris is the production manager.
You're what?
Doing it, trying to
Okay.
look at what we might be doing that's causing problems. The only thing that's really bad is it's got.
You do what? Yeah, yeah.
But it came
No,
out.
I probably used to. He's probably pretty young. I'm guessing. I don't know. I feel like that's a young person thing, yeah.
I don't know, it's him with Joker again.
Okay.
Yeah, seems like he's 4-H tonight. His family connections. But no, that
Just
guy's
trying to
freaking
wake up.
awesome. He's just from Minnesota, born and raised in nice cold weather. He wears shorts everywhere.
Jared.
He's like, yeah, hot spot in my house all day. Shorts.
Okay, a pair for you, Eric's, in case you need.
Oh, beautiful. Yes.
For.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, yell at me. Slow process. I guess they were supposed to update,
Yeah.
DEQ was supposed to update like
Yeah, good to see you.
4 or 5 years ago, and they haven't, and everybody's like, what the heck is gonna go on? So the master plan said, Cushing Trail's like, you need to have something there just so that
Change the date tomorrow, set a date for March.
it looks like you have a plan. I'm like, and he's like, and then actually develop a nice easy plan with everything. He's like, it doesn't have to be all at once. It doesn't need to be 6 months and you're kicked out or fine. He's like, just make a plan.
Probably. I believe so. Was like, yeah, the science, it's irrelevant.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't exist.
Oh, I'm blown away. I'm blown away because
Also,
we're all sitting here. It all is. I can't take time to read it.
All the property values.
Well, I was just thinking of those counties, like, and they're gonna, like, already, like, today I was thinking of nobody better be in my spot. Like, I've got so much fine art. What are you looking at? Owner, I'm looking at tenant. And it's right in front of my spot. I know. No, because my in-laws like to. She did that so much. Yeah, and Paul is really watching planning so that we, use those, but that's just too, not because I've asked, and I had asked because you decided. So. Bad things. Yeah. It's very frustrating. So I'm working like high alert for me, and I'm like, I'm looking at these patterns and it's really interesting. I'm looking at a landscape system, and I'm like, and that's John. I think it is. And why I think it's his wife. I found that out. Well, and they were really fair because they had somebody parking in my spot too. And I was like, when I realized who it was, and they were like, oh, we got right on it. Yeah, don't. Yeah.
You did not do that to the students.
They were, yeah.
I know, it's hard.
I'm forced to do that because you're making up poor decisions. Children, same thing, So.
Don't really watch this. They're really
Okay. We're just gonna skip your YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, yeah.
Every time I leave, after I thought about it, I was like,
No, when I grew up here, I left my school trips. But then it would be your use for short term. Well, no, but you need their, it's the food. It's the food. I love food. I know that food can make this good.
yeah, yeah. No. Yeah. Thank you for everything.
See why?
Well, Vinny. God bless you guys. So, yeah, I'll have Greg call. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You might be looking, so it doesn't hurt to have more help. Okay. Yeah.
You know, it's gonna be several pieces together.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, but yeah. Uh-huh.
For the whole thing.
Right, right. Wow, I can't believe we're out of here so fast.